Well, thank you all for joining us this afternoon. My name is Gene Lepley. I'm the Public Affairs Director for the Richmond Police Department. We're here to introduce just an exciting new addition to the 911 dispatch centers across the region, really from Hanover to Colonial Heights. And they're represented behind me by the various vehicles, various colors here, from all the localities. We will have representatives from several of the localities speak in just a moment. After they're done, they would like to take questions. If you have technical questions, we do have public affairs people from all the localities as well that can answer those. And later on, we'd invite you inside, into the shade, where you'll have an opportunity to see a public service announcement, which was made by Henrico County's Public Affairs Department as well. So without further ado, let me welcome, first of all, the Mayor of Richmond, the Honorable LeVar Stoney, to speak. Mayor.
Thank you, Gene. And Gene just grabbed me earlier and said, another day, another week, another introduction. Gene Lepley, everyone. Thank you so much, Gene. I would be remiss as the mayor of the great city of Richmond if I first did not recognize Councilwoman Reva Trammell, who's with us today. Reva, I just saw her.
Thank you, Mayor.
There you go, Reva. Thank you for being out here today. This is some of the duties you have as the great mayor of the city of Richmond, is to make sure that your council is recognized as well. But also, I will also like to recognize those who are first responders who are here as well. I see the Richmond Fire Department is represented, Emergency Management is represented, Richmond Ambulance Authority as well, the Richmond Police Department too, with the Department of Emergency Communications as well. Thank you all for being here today. And I want to begin by, this day would not have been possible without the leadership on our end of Stephen Willoughby, the Director of the Department of Emergency Communications. Thank you so much, Stephen, for, this is one of your pieces. This is like a child that you once again raised as well, and I thank you for being so instrumental in getting us to this point. This is just another demonstration of the evolution of public safety here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but also here in Central Virginia. Today we are announcing that Text-to-911 will be operational in our region. That will also include Colonial Heights as well. As of today, if you cannot call 911, you can now send a text message to 911 for emergency assistance in the city of Richmond, the Colonial Heights, Hanover, Henrico, and Chesterfield counties. Text to 911 is the most useful for those who are deaf or hard of hearing in the Richmond capital region, and for them, it makes getting emergency help faster and a whole lot easier. If you are able to make a voice call to 911, we still prefer you to use that method. However, if you are in a compromised situation and cannot make a voice call, we then ask that you text to 911. So if you can, call. If you can't, text. Say it with me now. If you can, call. If you can't, text. There you go. There you go. This text to 911 is not available in all areas of Virginia or the United States, but it's available here in the capital region. And Text to 911 has been implemented in the region, capital region, thanks to a grant. All things in government can't happen without a little dollars, and not just sometimes taxpayer dollars, but also those in the outside community. So I want to thank the Virginia Information Technology Agency for their contribution to this in the fiscal year 2017. This is the evolution of public safety here, not only here in the Commonwealth, but here in the capital region, and what not happened with a lot of partners at the table. And so I want to thank those participating localities involved for being here today in Richmond, and as we get this kicked off. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also like to introduce John Volker. He's working harder than any of us right now as he signs each of our statements. It is a regional effort, and we'd like to welcome the Chesterfield County Administrator, Joe Casey. Dr. Casey.
Well, welcome everybody. Joe Casey, County Administrator for Chesterfield County. And again, I like to recognize the person to my right here, because in essence, this text to 911 is made possible with us trying to serve those who are hard of hearing or deaf. And so it's very appropriate that during even this press conference of it, that those who are hard of hearing and deaf can see what we're trying to do for them. Just as Mayor Stoney acknowledged a council person here, I'd like to recognize Board of Supervisor member Leslie Haley and a lot of our leadership team under Fire Chief Loy Center and Police Chief Jeff Katz, and I see many of their folks in the audience as well. It just shows you that this 911 is serious business. not just yesterday and how we've done it in traditional manners, but tomorrow and how we're doing it, and actually today as we're doing it in many more manners involving call if you can, text if you can't. So I'm supposed to reiterate that too. Call if you can, text if you can. And our dispatchers are ready to serve you now. Actually, with the heat right now, I think I saw one or two of you on your cell phone right now trying to, do a text. I hope it's not to 911 because of our long speeches up in front of you on a hot day. But again, the hard of hearing and deaf populations, while there were techniques of the past utilized for them, quite frankly, in a business where your result is measured in seconds, the assistance that we provided may have been measured in minutes. And while we did our best in serving those populations, that best isn't good enough in 2018. So to deploy the latest and greatest techniques is really just our commitment to the citizens. As a region, this is not just one example of a regional partnership, but yet another upon another example. And we all have the shared vision of public safety being a top priority. So the public safety regional partnerships, quite frankly, they're the easiest to do. And when we do the easiest ones first, the ones that are a little harder are a little easier to get done. I just want to make reference that again, not only for the hard of hearing and deaf populations, but again, for those that are having their darkest day and have to be in a quiet spot and are scared to make a telephone call. In some respects, this darkness of a hidden spot is going to represent the light of a first responder coming to them now. A first responder that may have not gotten there as quick as they would have gotten there before. So again, I think that the testimonials of this will be for the stories that we hear maybe as soon as tomorrow on this. And our awareness now of the active shooter and some of the citizen survival skills that now exist with active shooters, I think it's run, hide, fight. Well, the hide factor just got a little bit better, because if you're quiet and need to be quiet in a corner when something is going on and you feel like you're alone, you're no longer alone anymore with a text message to 911. So again, on behalf of Chesterfield County, I'm proud to be here as a representative and more proud to be here as a region serving the entire metropolitan Richmond area on a public safety matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Casey. Call if you can, text if you can't. From looking south to Chesterfield and Colonial Heights, let's look north to Hanover and Henrico County, and welcome to the podium the Deputy County Manager for Public Safety, Doug Middleton. Doug.
First, I'd like to say I wrote Joe's speech, so Joe, thank you for sticking to the text. I want to make just a couple of comments about public safety and this particular initiative. The discussions on Text-to-911 in this region began not just a few months ago or even a year ago. They've been discussing this for more than 5 years. We had to wait for the technology to catch up with where we were and our desire to do it, and we were seeking support from the state through the 911 Services Board to establish state standards for the deployment of this technology throughout the state, as well as the opportunities to use those funds to help pay for the costs associated with it. In addition to that, it was critical that every locality in the region agree to implement this technology at the same time. And the reason for that is because it's cell tower based, and you want to make sure that if it goes to one locality, it doesn't get lost in the mix and not get intercepted and the message actually addressed when an individual has a true emergency that they are texting. This technology does have its limitations, and thus the reason for saying call if you can and text if you can't. The video that's been prepared will help you understand why it has limitations and why calling is the preferred method of communicating an emergency. But we understand in public safety that there are always times, whether it is an individual who has a challenge that is physical and permanent, or an individual who is challenged by a circumstance they find themselves in, that texting 911 will be a great way for us to be able to provide the necessary services and protections and assistance that they need. So this is a great day for our region, not just because of this one issue, but because of the fact that this is just one more example, one more demonstration of how the localities throughout the metropolitan area work together for the greater good of all of our citizens who travel across the boundaries of our localities without ever knowing they've crossed from one location to the other. So this is how we do things in this region. It is our history, it is our tradition, and it is a great example of what we're not only going to do now, but what we will continue to do as we go forward in addressing how to best use technology to serve all of our citizens. So thank you to all of you for being here, and to those of you who have been supporting this technology within the public safety community. Thank you.
County Deputy Director Doug Middleton. And as Dr. Casey mentioned, this is a terrific boon to those who are hearing impaired. So we have welcomed to the podium next will be the president of the Greater Richmond chapter of the Virginia Association of the Deaf, Byron Heath. Byron will sign, and John Folker will speak for him.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank Richmond Mayor LeVar Stoney and several of the county representatives for instilling and establishing Text-to-911. And I also want to thank Karen Gill and the Capital Region Emergency Communications for including myself and Tressie Bateson on their subcommittee to help develop and implement Text-to-911 to the cities of Richmond, Colonial Heights, the counties of Hanover, Henrico, and Chesterfield. Deaf and hard of hearing people will have the greatest benefit of using Text-to-911 for emergency purposes, which will serve to protect their lives. Since the advent of the technology, the deaf and hard of hearing people of the region will have the opportunity of using a communication access to 911. When emergency situations arise, they'll have access by being able to send a text through their cell phone to dispatchers at the communication center. And in history, if you look at deaf and hard of hearing people and the situation of their lives, their inability to be able to communicate, their inability to even use the telephone, to have to use other hearing people to call emergency services. This has handicapped them. And now, because of the advent of these grants and all of this efforts, they'll be able to directly access these services. Thank you.
Thank you, Byron and John. How appropriate that that was sounding as he spoke. Before the end of the day, that call for help may have come in by text to 911. It's a great reminder of what's coming next, what is here now. We have a few people to thank here before we leave the podium, and others are available for interviews. But first, a quick story. When I started with the Richmond Police Department a few years ago, we just instituted a Twitter account. One of the first tweets we got was somebody saying, "I'm following a drunk driver. What do I do?" That person chose to use Twitter to reach out, and we said, call 911. So it is amazing how the younger generation is using, they consider sometimes phone calls to be a bit of an intrusion. So using text to 911 is call first, then text, but I think you'll get a lot more text than you expect probably from the millennials. So before we leave you today, we'd like to thank the Virginia Information Technology Agency for awarding the grant to the Richmond Capital Region that allowed this text to 911 to be implemented. And a special thanks go to Henrico County's Public Relations and Media Services Department for producing the text to 911 video, the public service announcement that is playing inside the fire station.
In an emergency, the best way to get help is to call 911. Now there's an option for those who are deaf or hard of hearing and those whose safety requires remaining silent. If you're unable to talk for any reason, you can send a text message to 911 from your cell phone. Text to 911 is available in the cities of Richmond and Colonial Heights and the counties of Chesterfield, Hanover, and Henrico. If you can't call 911, here's how you can send a text for help. Create a message and enter 911 in the to or recipient field. Type a short message. Include the type of emergency and the exact location. Be brief and to the point. Avoid using abbreviations and slang. Finally, look for a reply message. You will be asked for more information or directed to call 911. If you don't receive a message, that means Text-to-911 is unavailable in the area. You will need to call 911. As always, do not text and drive. Do not send photos or videos. Do not copy others on your message. Text-to-911 works only if 911 is the lone recipient. When you're asked to provide more information, answer to the best of your ability. Help is on the way, and your input will allow police, fire, or other responders to prepare for the situation. Finally, call or text 911 only in an emergency. The 911 system is a vital part of our community's emergency response system. Remember, if you're in trouble or need help, call 911 if you can. Text if you can't.